So let's look at a different type of single clause sentence, one that follows the subject verb, which we're familiar with probably already if you've watched the one on subject verb object, so subject verb. But what about if you go subject verb and then a new thing here called a complement? That's what we're looking at today in this video. When you start a sentence, and here we've got young Layla, who's I think probably about 2 or 3, something like that, and she's talking to her mother or a carer called Jan, and she's said here 2 things, but both of them follow this structure. They are big chairs. They are big chairs. So they, like in any sentence really, pretty much that is in the declarative, so making a statement, is the subject. They, and then we have the verb, are. Now what is the function of this bit of the sentence? Because you want to say subject verb object, because that's the kind of most I guess the most sort of fundamental structure that people always come back to, but that is not what this is here. Big chairs is actually telling us more about the subject, they. What are they? They are, that's the verb be, okay, in one of its many forms. Really, really useful. We'll do that in another video where we look at the verb be, but you know, basically the verb be in the present tense, I am, you are, she, he, is, yes, first, second, third, and then that's all in the singular, and then first, second, third in the plural. We go we, you, they, and in all cases they just have this form of the verb be, are. Hence, they are. So be is a verb. It is not a transitive verb, as we've talked about before, or if you've probably talked about in that the most recent video on subject verb object, if you've watched that. Be is actually, in this structure, is actually what we call a copular verb. I like the word copula because you can spell it with an A, or you can just spell it with, AR. What is a copular verb? A copular verb has this function. It joins the subject to the bit that is describing or saying more about the subject, and we have a name for that, which is the complement. Subject, verb, complement. Subject, then the verb. It's nearly always the verb be. You can have a few others for a verb like kind of seems, she seems happy, etc., etc. And what would we go on and say about this? Well, it's actually extremely useful when you're looking at how children acquire language, because this is another early structure that they get to grips with, or certainly seem to get to grips with, because you'd have to ask the question, when she says that's nice, right? So that's that, and then is, yes, but that's been shortened to ts, yes, nice. You'd have to ask yourself the question, if you went and talked to Layla, Layla, tell me, do you actually understand that you are using a contracted form of the verb to be in the third person singular? And I think probably Layla would probably walk away, actually, I suspect. But what she's doing here is she is definitely doing subject, that's a pronoun, yes, talking about what they're discussing already, and then is short for is, which is the verb, and then here is nice, which is an adjective, yes, and that adjective, and complements nearly always are adjectives, is a complement. It is working with the subject. So I would talk about that, and I would definitely often find myself, when I was talking about child language acquisition, and I came across, for example, a sentence like this one, she happy, yes, or that blue. The copular verb is often missed out in the subject verb complement construction in the two-word stage, which is that early stage children use after they've shifted out of the one-word stage before they get into the telegraphic. It's very useful to be able to label it. Hope you find that useful. Thanks very much.